Hey, what's going on, guys? It's your boy Tilma with another Tilma Take. So today we're going to talk about the video that's been going viral of the young 8-year-old boy who was allegedly detained for stealing a bag of chips for the local convenience store. Was it right or was it wrong? Well, that's what we're going to find out today. There's a guy that's actually recording this who said these officers treated these young kids as if they were some murderers. Let's take a look and watch the video and find out whether these officers were right or wrong. Let's take a look.
Ron Tillman. Real talk is the truth.
All right, guys. Now, before we watch the video, let me give you a little bit of context so that way I can lay it out for you. Officers were called to the area because a local business owner called and said that some young children were seen stealing a bag of chips and some other items from the store. Officers arrive in the area, and when they arrive in the area, they locate the young juveniles that were allegedly suspected of stealing, and they go to detain them. And this is where the viral video that we all saw takes place. So I'm going to go ahead and play that viral video now, and then we'll talk about whether it was right or wrong.
Guess what I'm doing.
Hey, you're like a baby to me. Why you?
Guess what I'm doing.
I don't know what you doing. I just see you snatch him up off the.
No.
So what's going on then?
He's stealing stuff. If he breaks into your house to steal something.
Nah, man. What you selling, a bag of chips? So y'all treat me like a whole cold-blooded killer?
Keep walking, dude. You don't even know what you're
Keep
talking
walking.
about.
I know what I just came up and see. I know just came up and see.
Okay, what did you see?
I see y'all snatching him up a bike like you're a man.
Wasn't him.
Ain't he saying it wasn't him? Y'all doing?
Crazy. How old is he? 10 years?
What talking about, man?
That's against the law.
Y'all doing?
So you cannot put that.
What is y'all doing? Take the chips. If he stole some chips, I'll pay for him. I'll pay for him. You don't even know where he lives. Y'all just throwing him in the car.
That's what they do. They come here.
Do it.
All right, guys. So obviously, at face value, it does look terrible. I mean, I have an 8-year-old son at home, and if my 8-year-old is seen screaming because officers are putting him in the backseat of a police car, I would be pretty petrified as well. However, I'm also going to ask the question, why are you detaining my son in the first place? So let's kind of get into that. So let's first start with the fact of the guy that's recording. First of all, this is very dangerous, and I don't like it simply because it puts the officers in a very compromising position because they're so close and they're distracting the officers from what else is going on, not only just with the juveniles, but your surroundings. And so I always tell people, man, if you want to record, stay back, stop yelling, stop instigating, and, just let the officers do their job because it puts them in a real compromising position. So I had to throw that out there because it does bother me when I see behavior like that. So let's get into, whether or not these officers' actions were right or wrong. Now, the person recording says that this officer is treating this boy like he's a murderer. I would have to disagree on that. A murderer would not be treated like this. And the other thing is when this video went viral, a lot of people alleged that these officers actually put handcuffs on this child. They never put handcuffs on him at all. Never, not once. And I watched all the videos. I watched all the body cams. I watched their press conference. Not one time did they put this kid in handcuffs. That's big. I've put juveniles in handcuffs for different reasons. When they've committed a crime, and if they were going to go down to juvenile hall, I put it in handcuffs. Not all the time, but I've done it. These officers never did it, even though a crime had been committed. The second thing is the person recording is alleging that these officers don't even know this kid or know any of the other kids and stuff like that. That's wrong. Again, by doing my research, what I found out is these officers actually know these kids and know them very well because they've dealt with them on multiple occasions. This was not the first time these kids were stealing from a store. They had stolen from stores and other people's homes on multiple occasions. And so these officers are frustrated because they keep dealing with the same kids over and over and over again. So let me take a step back. I remember as a school resource officer, I would have relationships with a lot of the kids, and I would start to get frustrated anytime I started to deal, or I kept dealing with some of the same students over and over again for the same issues. It's like a parent. When you tell your child over and over again to stop doing something and they keep doing it, it's frustrating. So in this situation, what we're watching is the officer is putting the kid back in the car to take him away. Now, that's the question. Where is he taking him to? Well, the officer actually takes him home. Again, that was not discussed in this viral video. They never went down to the precinct to get booked. They never went and got a citation for stealing. They took the kid home to his dad. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go ahead and cue up the officer's body cam footage because I think it's important to watch this angle just so we can see.
What are you doing to that young boy?
You see what he's exactly what he's doing. He's not getting in the car. He's going home to his mom.
Listen, let him go. Let him not. He's a fucking little baby, man. Now I'm helping you. I'm making sure y'all killers in the way.
Exactly. Are you serious, man?
Because that's what the fuck y'all do.
That's what we do, right? Yeah, get your facts straight.
It does
Get your facts straight. And all right, get your facts straight.
Nigga, 10-year-old here, baby. What the fuck is y'all talking about?
What? Yeah, they going.
All right. Have you guys ever heard the old saying that says it takes a village to raise a child? So one of the things I typically do, or I tend to do anytime I'm watching videos, is I try to put myself in a situation, or I try to put my kids in a situation and see if I would have a similar response. And my dad, who I love dearly and who just passed away recently, if I was in a similar situation, my dad would be like, yeah, go ahead and take his butt down there because he needs to learn a lesson. You know, you ain't supposed to be stealing from a store. Or let's just say it wasn't my dad, and let's say somebody in the neighborhood recognized who I was, and they saw me stealing from a store, stealing from people's homes. That person who knew who I was would probably be like, you know what? Yeah, you need to teach them a lesson. You need to stop stealing from stores. These officers got a job to do, and it's because of you stealing from stores that they're here for you in the first place. There's a level of accountability that would have been imposed upon me by my dad and the rest of the village. But what we watched in this video is we watched that the people in the village are not holding the child accountable, but yet they're trying to put a band-aid over that, or actually not even acknowledge it and focus all their attention on the officers who were actually doing their job. Now, it'd be different if these officers were utilizing excessive force or utilizing force in the first place. They never even used force on the kid. So that would be a different story, but that's not what we're watching here. But when we see it, it went viral because everybody's screaming or mad that the kid is screaming, and it looks atrocious, even though it's not necessarily atrocious. The kid is screaming because he's 8 years old and he doesn't want to get in trouble and get in the backseat of a police car and maybe go down to the jail. So that's why he's screaming. So what I want to do lastly is I'm going to actually show you the video of the press conference. There's a part of the press conference that actually I actually thought was pretty cool to watch. So I'm going to go ahead and play it. I queued it up at the minute that I want you guys to listen to.
Your dad's trying to make a good life for you boys, and you're not really showing them how much you appreciate that.
Let me pause the video right here. Now, do you guys see the way the officer is standing here on the left-hand side of the screen? Does that look like an officer that is there to treat somebody like a murderer? Does that look like an officer that's there to discriminate against some kids in the neighborhood? No. Let's listen to the rest of the conversation because I think you'd be surprised in the conversation that took place after he was actually put in that car.
So, I don't want to be seeing you guys like this again. I'm happy to say hi to you boys in the street and talk, but I don't want to be tracking you down because you're stealing from people again. You're not going to that Dollar General, the dollar store.
All right. You know what we just watched? Here's the irony of this whole video. This is the irony of it. We just watched Community Policing 101. What do I mean by that? Here's what I mean. In community policing, what does everybody always want us to do? Get to know the community. I talk about all the time. Well, it seems like these officers actually got to know the community because they were very familiar with the boys, but not just the boys, they were familiar with his dad. The second thing is, what do we want to see in community policing? We don't always want to see officers having to take people to jail because they've done something. We want to see officers actually exercising the spirit of the law over the letter of the law. Well, that's what we just saw. The officers actually put the boy in the backseat of the car without handcuffs and took him home. Never even wrote him a ticket. The last thing is, what do we want to see in community policing? We want to see the police officers educating the community about what we do, why we do it, and how we do it. Well, if you watch the end of that video, you see the officers educating and counseling the young boy in front of his dad. We just watched community policing, but yet this video went viral because the 8-year-old boy is screaming as he's getting in the backseat of the car. We have to get to a place in society where we start holding people accountable for their actions, even if they're 8 years old. Now, I'm not saying this little boy needs to go down to jail and be scared straight. That's not what I'm saying. But what I'm saying is that we have to stop trying to cover up the actions of this young boy because we see officers putting him in the backseat of a car. Now, is there things that the officers could have been done better? Maybe. I mean, I'm an advocate of saying we could always be better with everything that we do. So there's maybe some things that they could have done. But the reasons that this video went viral for, allegedly harassing and treating these kids like they were murderers, absolutely false. And so I want you guys to share this video, share others like it once you get all the context. Watch the press conference. You can go onto the police department site and watch the press conference, and you'll see all the different body cams. You'll see the reason for them contacting them, and you'll actually find out what the police department is doing in that community. They talk about how they have police athletic leagues in this community. So it just baffles me that we watch videos like this, we get all fired up and emotional because it looks like it's something that is typically not. Last thing I mentioned, and I usually never do this because it usually has nothing to do with the force that we see officers using against an individual, but I bring up the person that's actually recording this. So I went up and looked up a little bit of information about this person, and this person has an extensive rap sheet for a whole bunch of other things. Why is that important? Yeah, it may have nothing to do with the actions of these officers towards a kid. But mind you, the same person that's recording is screaming about how these officers are treating this young juvenile who stole a bag of chips. Well, if you look up the charges of why this person that's recording has been arrested, we should be in uproar for the fact or a lot of the things that he's done. So it's crazy for me to think that he has all this energy towards officers that are doing their job in community policing, but yet what about the victims that were harassed in his situation? I'm not saying there's not a level of grace and mercy. I think we all are entitled to grace and mercy and forgiveness, no doubt about it. But when you want to have or when you want to receive grace and mercy, you better make sure you give it. I hope you guys enjoy this Tillman Take. Take care. Make sure you guys hit the like button, subscribe, comment below. Thanks again, and God bless.
Ron Tillman, real talk, it's the truth.